Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Peter. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, my name is Paul Brewster from Pure Marine. This morning, hoping to share some insight from the wave and tidal energy sector and share some thoughts on where I see the opportunities for Ireland and Ireland's engineers to be at the forefront of this emerging sector. So a familiar story to start, and we're all in commission up here in case you didn't realise and in case you didn't notice. We used to build some really big ocean technologies, and there still remains a rich engineering heritage in Belfast and in Northern Ireland. And as many of you who visited the Titanic Quarter yesterday will have seen, there's a transformation underway. And further down the end of the site is the Northern Ireland Science Park. It's where we're based and where new industries, new technologies are emerging and going to be a part of driving enterprise and driving the new economy on the island. Future technologies, well, wave and tidal energy technologies are going to be a part of that, and we have the indigenous skills, engineering expertise to be at the forefront of this new sector as it emerges. We're perched on the corner of Europe and facing into the North Atlantic. We have huge natural resources and can deliver huge amounts of renewable energy from these, from wave, tidal and wind, as we'll hear more about later on. Wave and tidal energy today is at a very early stage. We aren't going to generate 10, 20, hundreds, thousands of megawatts like wind and offshore wind can do today, but it is an economic opportunity. We're at the start of an emerging sector, and getting expertise in the technologies and in the supply chain will give ourselves, our engineers and our local businesses a chance to grow in future years. We have the researchers and innovators, world-class in their field, that have been at the forefront of the pioneering projects in this area. But now we need a clear plan and commitment from everybody across the board to deliver, so that we can take advantages of, I suppose, the strengths that we have today to make sure that we don't lose them in future years. So the resource is undeniable, perched, as I said, on the corner of the Atlantic. We've huge wave energy resources and potentially some of the best sites in the world. And a not insignificant tidal energy source. I mean, on the island, all our wave energy resource on the west and our tidal energy up on the northeast coast between Northern Ireland and Scotland. So what are we going to do about this? Well, there is a market emerging, being driven strongly by Scotland. A lot of the big utilities have staked their claim and are developing sites up in the very north of Scotland. And that has triggered the major manufacturers, the Siemens, the Alstoms, the Voights of this world, to start getting more involved in the sector. In terms of a project, you can see that these are huge offshore projects, and those of you familiar with the area will know that there's opportunities across and throughout the supply chain. The technology supplier will obviously be a big part of it, but the installation, the manufacture, all the O&M once the projects are deployed. And again, a lot of very good work by the Crown Estate and others to try and, I suppose, lay out the plan for the supply chain primarily to show that they can commit to building up their skills and resources as these projects rolled out. And again, as you can see, manufacturing, installation, probably the real big opportunities, but not insignificant opportunities in development primarily, which is what's happening today. And again, we've expertise in our ranks that can take advantage of those opportunities. And I suppose it is emerging, so there's always the question of will it ever happen? And I say in the UK and Scotland in particular, really to the forefront and making it happen. They have done the work many years ago to show that this will happen and this can be a big success story in energy, but also in manufacturing and in enterprise. So we referred to earlier about some of Ireland's strengths, and I suppose from the pioneering research, we've built up this expertise in testing, in test facilities. And indeed, the likes of the Marine Institute and others have been building on that in recent years, where we have now test sites in Galway Bay, a wave test site for demonstration arrays under development up in County Mayo. And indeed, in Northern Ireland, building on the success of the CGen unit in Strangford Lough, there now is a project underway, I suppose, supported by Queen's University and the Competence Centre there, to again replicate what the South have done for wave and provide an area for demonstration arrays of tidal energy turbines up on the northeast coast. Some of the test facilities down in the HMRC in Cork and up in Queens, we have facilities and researchers that are world renowned. We referred to the Galway Bay test site, allowing, I suppose, the technologies to move from the test tanks out into the ocean to get real experience. And then the next piece in that development plan are the open ocean test sites and the areas where we can bridge that gap from testing single technologies to commercial arrays. And that really is where the industry is at today, and I suppose the importance for Ireland, North and South, to be playing and taking a very active role in that area. So let me tell you a wee bit more about where I see the opportunity and what it looks like and how we can tap into it. I think one of the easiest parallels to draw on is the wind energy sector and Denmark's success story there, where when many others around them were saying this will never happen, they embraced it, took it on, addressed the hurdles as they saw to try and stimulate the sector and make it grow. And the numbers speak for themselves. Everyone's familiar with it. And now every other country throughout Europe trying to catch up as onshore and increasingly offshore wind begins to grow. So where we are today, there are an increasing number of single technologies coming through the ranks. The European Marine Energy Centre up in the Orkneys has again been at the forefront of these sort of development stages. And while it remained empty actually for many, many years after it initially developed, it's now full to capacity with more and more technologies coming through. And not only their indigenous companies, but major industrial manufacturers from throughout Europe and beyond. Kawasaki, one of the latest organisations to be, I suppose, looking for a berth to go and test their technology there. But as I alluded to earlier, the next stage is maybe where the big opportunity lies for everyone here. Once the single machines have been put through the paces, you still can't build a 10, 20, 50 megawatt project. There still needs to be a bridging gap where you can address some of the project uncertainties around yield and performance and operation and maintenance. And that will be achieved through deploying and delivering small arrays, 3, 4, 5 megawatts. The UK has set out its stall to deliver half dozen of these. And again, not an insignificant business opportunity itself, just to be part of those projects and start gaining the expertise that can be used as the projects scale up elsewhere. So the decision for us in this part of the world is, do we sit and wait? And our resources are undeniable. In years to come, they will be exploited as Europe sits to fill all its gaps and its renewable energy targets. Or do we sort of do something much more ambitious, much more proactive to sort of try and seize the opportunity that's there? We have policies in place. The difficulty I have with them is there's a disconnect there. Our policies are primarily energy policies. Northern Ireland with Tidal with this ambitious 300 megawatt target. In the south with the offshore development plan, we're looking at how it will be built into hundreds and thousands of megawatts. And the truth is today, the opportunity is not energy. The opportunity is an economic one. And if we embrace, I think, the opportunity today to be at the heart of the innovation that's going on and to be leading the innovation that's going on, then the prize is undeniable as our resources and other regions' resources in the UK and throughout Europe and throughout the world indeed are built out. The other message then for anyone that doubts it is that, and it's great to have had the wind sector to plot all the facts and figures to say the reality far outstrips the forecast. It has done in the past and it will do in this sector as well. Indeed, I recall a recent Marine Renewables conference where one of the senior board Gaelic members stood up and almost apologised for doubting that wind would ever happen, and they're not going to make the same mistake with wave and tidal energy. But there are obstacles. There's some huge challenges out there. And I know the audience I'm speaking in front of this morning are licking their lips and rubbing their hands, because we know we can tackle them, we know we can address them. And the prize, in many ways, is that we can be at the forefront of what's happening in Europe. I expect we'll hear more about those sorts of areas with other speakers this morning. But we, I say, perched with all our natural resources, are going to be a major part of Europe's green energy drive. And I suppose the opportunity is to try and be, I suppose, engaged in helping deliver that, rather than sitting back and waiting for someone else to come and deliver our resources. So what next? Well, there is an opportunity today. We know, and anybody else involved in the sector knows, that the big companies, the big industries, and the opportunities for innovation are there today. And I suppose the commitment and maybe the fallback, that if wave and tidal energy is slow to start, that the offshore wind sector is there. And indeed, for many of the organisations and businesses building up your resources and capabilities, if the wave and tidal energy is slow to start, offshore wind, there are many, many synergies where your expertise can be used, and that sector is happening at a huge scale today. The opportunities then are throughout the supply chain. Again, anyone who visited the Titanic quarter yesterday and seeing the old shipyard works and the cranes, and hearing the stories about the enormous supply chain, indigenous companies that built up around shipbuilding. And again, in wave and tidal energy and the parallels with offshore wind, there are huge opportunities throughout the supply chain: installation, manufacturing, logistics. I mean, these are huge, significantly complex projects where there will be a lot of expertise required. So, thoughts on what we should do? Well, there's a lot of disconnect, and collaboration is maybe a much overused word, but industry, government and academia, the research centres, have got between them all the expertise and capabilities to deliver these demonstration arrays. And in many ways, the barriers that are there will need that collaboration. We can't expect a utility to go and take a risk on something that doesn't make sense, and yet we still need industry to be there innovating and creating and developing the technologies. The major European manufacturers are seeking locations to do their demonstration arrays. They see the UK and Scotland in particular as a significant market for them, and they're looking for somewhere to lay down roots. And I think if we can provide the areas and the sites, like Belmullet and like the Enter NI project in Northern Ireland, to facilitate them coming here, it will do two things. One, it will allow our local businesses throughout the supply chain to gain the experience which they will be able to use locally and export elsewhere. But I think we're seeing in a lot of other sectors, be it pharma and IT, that when we get the bigger companies there, it gives our maybe smaller indigenous companies that opportunity, that renewable energy hub, which is what you could see developed, to grow, and then on their own right attract the international investment and bringing that into Ireland, north and south, to be part of our economic future. Wave and tidal energy can be a part of the enterprise that we are chasing, and hopefully I'll give you this morning just a flavour of what is going on.